Now you can go ahead and delete all of those folders you just made by clicking on the top one, scrolling down to the bottom one, and holding down Shift and clicking it, and it'll highlight all of them. Wow. Then you can Control click, right click, and just click delete, and you'll get rid of them all. Uh-oh, it only got rid of one? I'm gonna have to go in and delete all of these? No. Delete them all. Oh, never mind, I did it all. Perfect. You hold down Shift, click the bottom one. You click the top one, hold down Shift, click the bottom one, Control click, and then delete them.
That's so complicated.
I'm sorry it's so complicated. You'll make it work. Now here, I have this command that I use to create all those directories. What was it called? mkdir, mkdir. This is the first command you're ever going to learn that works in the command line. It makes a directory. The way mkdir works is you type in mk, and by the way, I'm just gonna do another command really quickly. You type in mkdir space the name of the directory you want to create. So what's the name of the directory we want to create? Let's go with my trip around the world. And you can see here, I have this new folder called my trip around the world. All I did is I typed in mkdir space the name of the new directory I want to create. So I've created this mkdir, and it's called this new directory. It's called my trip around the world. And I would like to create another folder inside this folder that's going to organize all the places I want to travel in the world. Ah, great question. How do you create a file? Oh, how do you clear the bottom down here? You just type in clear and then hit enter and it'll clear whatever's there. Cool? So in this little project, this little lesson, I'm going to show you how I would organize my trip around the world if I wanted to store all the places I want to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to need to put a folder inside my trip around the world. Where's the first place I want to travel? Give me a place to go. South Africa. Let's do it. So let's mkdir South-Africa and hit enter. What do you notice happens when I do that?
You made a file for South Africa.
I made a new directory for South Africa, but I wanted to go inside this directory. Why didn't it do that?
Because you made a directory or separate.
Yeah, this is interesting. I want this directory to go inside here automatically, but it didn't work. What do you think? I need another command. That's right. I need another command so that when I use mkdir, I'm actually already inside this directory. Now on Finder, you can kind of just like click through on your Mac. You just like click through all the different folders, right? But what if we can't click through folders here? So what we need to do is the only way to move around inside our workspace is to use the terminal. We have this new command called cd, which stands for change directory. So watch this. I'm going to type in cd, and then I'm going to change the name of my directory from Workspace to my trip around the world. So I'm going to type in cd my-trip-around-the-world. CD stands for change directory, or change the current directory you're in from my first workspace to my trip around the world. And when I hit enter, what happened when I typed in that command? What do you notice is different about this right here? Ah, it changes. It used to say just workspace. Now it says what?
Sorry, pull down the file. CD, pull down the file.
CD changed. It changed because the directory I used to be in was my first workspace, which here it just says workspace. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
It just says workspace, even though my folder here is my first workspace. This is actually just the way Cloud9 works. They're a little funky, and the part that says my first workspace is represented just by the word workspace. So don't worry about that. Then it says / my trip around the world. That means the current location in my terminal, the current directory I'm in is what? My first trip around the world. My trip around the world. Exactly. That's where I'm located. Now let's mkdir a new directory called South. Or let's pick a different country this time. What should I pick this time? Pick somewhere else to go. Mexico. I'm cool with that. Mexico. And now if I open up this directory, what do I see inside it? Mexico. Cool. That's awesome. Now I can make more folders inside of my trip around the world and store all the places I want to go. So right now, I want everybody to go into Slack, into the period 3 channel, and I want you to type out 2 things. I want you to tell me one place, one country you want to visit, and one city you want to visit inside that country. And I want you to tell me what destination you want to see inside that city. So, 3 things. A country you want to visit. Like this. Let me show you exactly what I mean. We're going to head to Slack, and we're going to type out in the period 3 channel, we're going to type out a place to go, like Mexico, a country, a city to visit, Mexico City, and a thing you want to see there. Or let's go Cancun. What do I want to visit in Cancun, Eric? The resorts. Perfect.
I'm gonna say something else. Good thing you stopped me.
Kung Fu Panda. Mexico, Cancun, visit the resorts. This is your job. I want you to go do that right now. We'll come back in a minute. So go ahead and do that right now and put it right inside there. Good. These are some great responses. Kyoto, the shrines. Acapulco, the beaches. Quebec, Toronto. Los Angeles, Simon Tech to visit Astor's class. Cool. London, Tokyo, Colima, Mexico City, Rio, Egypt. Want to visit Culver City to visit Astor's mama? Awesome. Very cool. My mom is an incredible woman. She would absolutely love to host you. She'd probably cook for you too. You'd be a lucky man. So these are great. I think these are all a bunch of good places. Let's use them. Now, the thing here is once I have traveled into my trip around the world, I've navigated using my terminal into my trip around the world directory. Now I want to go into Mexico and I want to add to that a couple different folders about places to visit. So in Mexico, we have San Bartolo, that's one. Mexico City's another one. I think we had another one. Mazatlan, Acapulco. So we have a couple different folders to add, right? So how do we get into the Mexico directory from here? What do we type in? CD what? CD into Mexico. Sweet. CD Mexico. And if it works, it'll say, cool, my trip around the world / Mexico. Now, we need to make a bunch of new directories. So what are the other cities we need to visit in Mexico?
Puebla.
Mazatlan. Where else?
Puebla.
Mexico - city.
Puebla.
Where else? Acapulco. Okay, I'm just going to throw those in there for a second. And we have 3 new cities. Now, if I want to move into, say, Acapulco, did I spell Acapulco wrong? I think we're good. If I want to CD into Acapulco, what if I spell it wrong when I try and type in CD? What if I type in CD, Aca, or Acapulco? Because I can't spell, right? Let's see what happens if I type that out. It says, no such file or directory. So if you type it in wrong, or if you're in the wrong spot, it will give you a little error. And these are super, super helpful. The errors tell us what's wrong. They're clues that give us hints about what we need to do to correct our input. So now if I type it again, CD Acapulco, I can now see that it's navigated me into Acapulco. And I can go back and I can see what did I want to do there in Acapulco. Let's see. Who's at Acapulco? Mexico City. I don't even remember. It was in there somewhere. Oh, there we go. The beaches. Hit up the beaches. So we'll go back here, and now I want to create a file called beaches. The way you create a file in the terminal is by using a new command. It's called touch. T-O-U-C-H. Touch, like that. Space, the name of the file. So I'm going to type in touchbeaches.txt. You'll see it right here. Touchbeaches.txt. You'll notice that I put a .txt at the end of it. Does anyone know why I did that? Makes a text file. That's right. The extension or the dot whatever at the end of it tells me what kind of file we're creating. In this case, it's a text file. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to hit enter. And it should create a beaches.txt file inside Acapulco. And there it is. Now, if you open up that file, you'll see it in here, and we can start to actually use and edit the file inside the text editor. This is what the text editor is for. The text editor lets you change files, what's inside the file. The file tree is what lets you select or see what files and folders you have. And then the terminal lets you interact with the computer. So we've learned 3 commands so far, and I think, you know what, it's going to be important to put them in a file. So I'm going to create a file inside my first workspace called commands.txt, and I'm just going to store a few of these commands. What are the commands we've learned so far? mkdir, which stands for what? Make new directory or folder. That's right. Then we also have what? CD, which stands for what? Change directory. And it allows us to move around. Cool, what else do we have? What's the last one we learned? Touch. Touch creates a new file. And yeah, we use the .txt extension for text. Cool. You don't have to write these down. I'll give this to you, but I want to wrap the line. I just wanted to show you that we can go in there, we can make edits to our file like this. And then we can click File, Save, and it will save the file, commands.txt. So we can go back there later. Now you'll notice there's a lot of stuff I haven't taken care of fully yet, but for the most part, we've done a lot of this work. So the one thing that's kind of concerning is now that I'm in the Acapulco folder, what if I want to go back into the Mexico folder? How do I get back? How do I go backwards from Acapulco to Mexico? If I try and CD into Mexico, it'll tell you no such file or directory. That's because inside the Acapulco folder, inside the Acapulco directory, there is no Mexico directory. It's in the directory above it. Ooh, this one's a tricky one. The way you go back, move back or up one directory is by this command called cd space ... cd space ... And what that will do is it will move me from Acapulco inside Mexico back to whatever is on the left of it. So it'll move me to which one? Mexico, exactly. And I hit enter and it moves me to Mexico. You see how I did that? So this is how we move around, and you can do it again, cd ... and it'll take me to my trip around the world, cd space ... and it'll take me to Workspace. Now, anytime I want to see which folders are inside the area I'm at, I'm going to show you one more command. And by the way, I'm going to put cd ... here. Move back one directory. And then finally, if I want to list out all of the files and folders inside a place, I use a new command called ls for list. And it will list out that I have a commands.txt file, a first directory folder, a my trip around the world folder, and a South Africa folder. These are all the folders that are listed inside Workspace. So ls stands for what? List all files and folders in current directory. Now, I'm going to answer your questions now, but this video is getting a little long, so I think it's a good time to wrap it up here and then do a little activity. How's that sound? Good? Cool.
file.